This program is brought to you by Canton Community Television.
Nick Flaherty here with El Paso Chihuahuas announcer and author of the book Tales for the Dugout, released in March, Mr. Tim Haggerty. Mr. Haggerty, how are you doing today?
Good, thank you, Nick. How are you?
Good. Thank you. My first question is, what inspired the premise and the writing of your new book?
When I was researching something for a different project, I came across this story from the 1880s of a Texas League game that a wild bull ran on the field and delayed the game. And I thought, well, I cover baseball for a living, and I've never heard this story, so the odds are most fans haven't either. So that's what really began a look through newspaper archives. So that's what this book is about, the 1001 craziest minor league stories from the 1800s all the way till today.
And do you think it's important as a commentator to, when you're researching for other projects, if you look at something, or author, that if you look at something that catches your eye, do you think it's important to dedicate an entire project to that, if it's suitable?
That's a good question. I think that what would be part of that evaluation is, has it been done before? And throughout the past few decades, there have been some other baseball stories, books, a couple about the minor leagues, but they were more longer stories. My book is 1001 stories. They're all short and sweet, and there's a lot of illustrations as well. That's what I hoped, was these crazy stories that we talk about, that you see an illustration of this. So Cider Mill Press, a publishing company owned by HarperCollins, they did a great job with this. They have a very talented illustrator that also put together some cartoonish illustrations to go with a lot of these stories.
That's really cool. And when I was looking last year at your other book, Root for the Home Team, I kind of noticed that there was those very creative illustrations to kind of go with what you were writing about. So that was pretty cool.
Thank you. Yeah, and that was the same publisher that did that book about the craziest minor league team names. That came out in 2012, and that's their style. They're a very visual company, which I like as well. I think it's a fun thing to flip through, even if you just have a couple of minutes.
And what do you think you've learned as a sportscaster and as a writer from your first book and from your commentating career to in order to write this new book?
I think that what I've learned, whether it's on the air or in a book or in an article, is, will a lot of people find this interesting? There are articles and there are broadcasts out there that are all about specific stats or maybe a really particular story, which is fine for that audience. But what I think about when I'm telling a story on the air or when I'm writing a book is, will the casual fan like this? There's a much wider audience. So I would even sometimes test things. I'd tell a story to my wife, who likes sports, but she is not someone that knows the names, the teams. She's not an obsessed fan. She's a very casual fan. And if she laughed at a story, that would be a cue that, okay, this is good to put in the book. So when I told my wife that in 2002 there was a minor league game in New Jersey and a Brownie Troop mom ran on the field to confront an umpire and not only got ejected from the game but got arrested, she loved it. So that to me says, okay, this passes the test. This is a story that has to go in the book.
I think we talked about this a little in our last interview too. If it's a tied game in the middle of the ninth inning, you don't want to talk about a story like that then. But if it's like a blowout, semi-blowout in a earlier inning, then it's kind of appropriate to tell those stories at that time. And that's how it gets to the audience.
I think that's exactly right. Yeah, I heard a manager one time say that you manage the scoreboard. You think about the inning, the outs, the score, everything about it. And I think the broadcast is the same way. There's a certain appropriate time to veer off course a little bit from the game. And as you described, in extra innings of a tie game, it's not the time to do that when the pitches are so important.
Like, what did you learn about writing this new book?
I think just how many crazy stories have happened in baseball history. There were some wild trades. There was a player that was traded for 2 barrels of oysters in 1921. There was another player traded for a dozen donuts. So I think another thing I learned was these days, minor league teams really like to do unique things to sell tickets, to get in the news. But that's not a new thing. As I learned, there were some wild events and promotions that have taken place all the way back to the 1800s, like we said. Um, there was a team in West Virginia in the 1870s, and they had this contest which fan could catch a greased pig. Just these crazy things that would happen
It's
all the way back then. So, whether it's team names or whether it's unique things at the ballpark, nothing is new. There have been crazy things taking place for a long time.
so it's coming out in March. What are some retailers that we can get your book from?
It will be in bookstores, so it will be at the Barnes and Noble there over in Walpole, or whichever one is closest to whoever's listening today. Available now for order on Amazon, and the pre-orders have been doing well, which has been very exciting. I'm told that that's a big part of a book's success. If you can get pre-orders, get that momentum, it then pops up on more people's screens, and that's going well. So, yeah, as soon as anyone is hearing this, you can order it.
We just want to say we can't wait to see it. Who do you think we could look out for to be called up from the Chihuahuas to the Padres next year or anywhere else?
That's an interesting question. San Diego had a great season in 2022. They were a few wins away from going to the World Series, so they have a major league roster that's full of veterans, but some younger players here in El Paso. There's a very talented infielder from the Dominican Republic named Eggy Rosario. Fun name, Eggy. He made it up for his major league debut late last year, and it'll be interesting to see. He might be in El Paso, he might be in San Diego when the season begins. But the Padres have a bright future. I'd expect them to be in the playoffs again this year.
And I saw that they made it to the NLCS, so that was a great achievement for them, and hopefully they do well in the next few years. The Chihuahuas have had a great season. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
El Paso's a great setup. We have a beautiful stadium, very well supported, and the team has won a lot of games, including last year, made it to the Pacific Coast League Championship game. Lost that to Reno, Arizona's AAA team. But it's a great situation here. A lot of people listen, so it's a job I'm very lucky to have. And really announcing games all started with what you're doing now at Canton High School. I finished in 2000 and had a chance to do a lot of video production that you're doing now. We didn't have Zoom back then. That was a long time ago. Nobody had ever heard of Zoom back then. But we were recording our videos on VHS tapes. But it was a great program there. I loved Canton High School, and that's what got me started on doing this.
It's those small steps that I've been taking and so many other commentators have been taking here that's really taken a lot of people far. I know it's a really enjoyable process for me, and I hope to do something similar. But how have some previous Chihuahuas performed in the past with the Padres?
What's interesting is that the Padres have been so active with trades that a lot of the former Chihuahuas are playing for other major league teams as well. So there are a handful that have helped the Padres succeed. This past year, Ty France was a Major League All-Star with the Seattle Mariners. He was a Chihuahua, so that was exciting to have a Major League All-Star who played here in El Paso. Others have appeared in the World Series with various clubs, like Manuel Margot and Hunter Renfroe a couple of years ago played in the World Series for the Tampa Bay Rays in 2020, and a couple of years before they were playing with each other here in El Paso. So in the 9 seasons of Chihuahuas baseball, there's been more than 70 players to go up and make their Major League debut. Some of them have, as they say, had a brief cup of coffee, but others have stuck up there for a while. There was a pitcher also with Seattle, Andres Munoz, who was one of the best relievers in all of the major leagues this year, and he was in El Paso in 2019.
What was your favorite part of this season?
I think my favorite part of this season was that El Paso was in second place and was fading in August. This was not a team that was expected to make it to that championship game. At one point, they won 18 out of 22 games, which is really rare in baseball. In baseball, the best teams win only 60% of the time. So they just caught fire, could not be stopped, and it was fun to cover that, to be around that. The city really got into it. And the night that El Paso clinched a playoff spot, it was in front of a sellout crowd here at home on a close game with a tying run left at third. That was a really exciting game to call. The team then sprang champagne downstairs in the clubhouse and on the field after celebrating that. So it just made me realize how lucky it was for a clinching game to take place in an environment like that, where it was at home, it was on a weekend where there's more fans, it was a close game. So many different ingredients made that a memorable game here to announce. So that was my highlight from 2022.
I feel like the crowd, just seeing the crowd's emotion when a team clinches a playoff spot is really cool, because they've been there the whole way. And commentators like you and the team, they've just been fighting for the city and for their fans. So I think that's really cool to see. So how are the Chihuahuas expected to do this season?
I think strong again. It's difficult to predict in January when it comes to AAA baseball, because there's groups of players that could be with San Diego or could be with El Paso. In the lower levels, when I was a broadcaster at the rookie league level or at AA, it was a little bit easier to predict. You could pretty much take a look at the single A roster from the year before, pick out the best players, and suspect that they would be advancing to your team at AA. But in AAA, it's not all young players. We have the more experienced players. In some cases, they're in their 30s, and they are bouncing up and down. They're essentially the backups for the major league team. So throughout the season, they'll play for El Paso and San Diego a handful of different sessions each, which is a fun part of AAA baseball. We get the experienced players. This last year, we had Robinson Cano for a month on the team, the former Yankee star. I mean, this is a guy who's made hundreds of millions of dollars in his career, and he was here with the Chihuahuas for a month, so it was fun to be around him, get to interview him, which I love, that balance of the younger players like we talked about with the guy Iggy Rosario, but then the established players in their late 30s like Cano.
Yeah, I think it's really cool for the fans to get to see veterans because they get to interact with the team even stronger. That's cool to see that you guys have also gotten some established veterans that have been in the majors for a long time.
I think you're right, because someone like Cano is so well known that the younger players will be observing everything he does, whether that's his workouts in the gym, how he handles batting practice, and he provides something that maybe a coach or a manager doesn't, because it's a teammate, but somebody they also look up to so much.
And it's great to get that style of experience for the younger players especially. So we were wondering, when is the opening day for the Chihuahuas?
It's on March 31st. For the first time, we have a game in March. Typically, it opens up in early April, but the way the calendar fell this year, March 31st, which is a great time to be playing in El Paso. Sunny year-round here. If the Canton High Bulldogs had a game on March 31st, it probably is more cold than what I will experience March 31st this year, but should be fun.
And who are they playing?
It's against Sugarland, which is a team in the Houston area. That's the Astros AAA team.
And how are they? How have they been?
Good. Houston, it's really impressive what they've done. They won the World Series in 2017. They won the World Series in 2022. And they have more and more young, talented players coming up. So, we mentioned San Diego. I wouldn't be surprised if Houston also is a playoff team again this year.
And to close, we were just wondering for our audience, how can we watch? What are some ways to watch minor league baseball?
Yeah, if you go to MILB.com, they have MILB TV. For that one, there is a subscription, but our audio is free. So if you go to MILB.com, click on Game Day Audio, go to the El Paso page, you can hear me live. You can also hear the stream on 600 ESPN El Paso's website. And there's 150 games. That's the thing about baseball. There's so many games. So you can hear me most nights, some days from March 31st until mid-September.
And it's like a stretch where some teams, since it's 150 games, it's a marathon and not a sprint. So you can see some teams go. There's some teams that will have some great moments, and they'll have some great stretches, and they'll have some cold stretches. And that's what's so interesting about baseball, is that it's never really it's one of the few sports that's never really over. That can always change dramatically.
I agree with you. That's a great point. In baseball, you can start off the season 0-5 and win the World Series. Whereas if the Patriots started the season 0-5, it's possible, but they've really dug a hole there because that's, 1/3 of the season. But with baseball, there's so many games that you're right. It's more the consistency over the long haul. Can you do the little things well? Win 60% of your games, you're usually in the playoffs.
Who do you think is going to win the World Series this year?
It's so hard in the National League. The Padres have done so much, but then you look and the Dodgers are still talented. The St. Louis Cardinals, year in, year out, have tremendous teams. Atlanta as well. The Mets, of course, have great veteran pitching. So if I had to make a prediction, it's been a long time, but who's a really good team as far as the American League would be Seattle. I think it's finally time that the Mariners play in their first World Series. So I think the World Series here on January 6th, I think the prediction is San Diego versus Seattle.
That's a good one because they're very close too, and geographically they're very close.
And neither one of those teams has ever won a World Series, so that would be fun.
And
Seattle's you'd have a first-time winner.
Seattle's only been to it once, right? Or are they never into it?
They've actually never been. Yeah, they're one of the few teams that's never played in a World Series, and they've had some great players over the years, but they've never made it that far.
It should be interesting to see, but we just wanted to say thank you for coming, Mr. Haggerty.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me, and please reach out anytime.
Thank you. We hope you have a great day. Nick Flaherty here with Mr. Tim Haggerty.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
You're watching the Student Station on KN Community Television.
This program is brought to you by Canton Community Television. Now, from the television studios of Canton High School.
Welcome to the Dog Pound. I'm your host, Tyler Finland. Today we have Joe Blizzard, who's a member of the JV hockey team. We're going to talk to him about the upcoming season. Joe, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Tyler. It's a pleasure to be here.
Joe, explain how you first started playing hockey.
So, I was about 4 years old, and my mom and my dad signed me up for hockey at Pog Arena, Canton. I was really excited to play. I've always grown up watching the Bruins and stuff, and I kind of looked to them as idols almost. Yeah. I was just really loved the way they played. And hockey just the first day I played it, first day I picked up a stick, really just made me feel a different way. Yeah. Physically and emotionally, I just loved it, and I fell in love with the sport. Still play to death.
Who's a player on the Bruins that you looked up to as an idol growing up?
Honestly, Patrice Bergeron, I just he's just a star of the team. I always knew him, always knew his number. Even picked that number when I was younger. Yep. I loved that. He was a great guy.
What was your best memory growing up playing hockey?
Oh geez, there's so many memories because I've played for so long, but I'm gonna have to say probably my first goal.
First goal?
That was one of the best memories I've had. It just made me feel a certain way. When I I still score goals to this day, so I still get that same feeling every time. Still get just as excited.
Walk us through that first goal that you had.
So I remember I was Mighty Mites, probably around 4 years old. Like I said, just got the puck on my stick, skated up the ice, and just put it past the goalie. I just remember I was filled with joy. I could hear the crowds roaring my name. It was just it was magical.
Yep.
Moment I'll never forget.
Describe some of the struggles you had to face when you were learning how to play hockey.
When I was learning how to play hockey, lots of struggles. Obviously, just had to start playing, didn't really know the sport much. But one of the main struggles was definitely skating. That's tough to skate, very tough to skate. Just a lot of balance, a lot of hard work on your legs. Makes you really tired. So that was definitely the toughest thing for me. But once I overcame that, just everything else started coming together for me.
How'd you overcome that? How'd you start to learn how to skate when you were growing up?
Honestly, just a lot of hard work and determination. Just always going to practice, always being ready to play, just working hard all the time.
Yeah. Compare your first year of high school hockey to like youth hockey.
So high school hockey to youth hockey was definitely a big change. I just remember the first day of high school hockey, came in there, very just a serious vibe. No one was really talking. Everyone was kind of like just very serious. But it was more just like, wasn't like just like a fun like activity with your friends anymore. I really felt like it was a sport,
Yep.
like something that was challenging for me. And I loved that though. It made me feel like it was tough. I like a challenge, you know? It was
Yeah.
tough there, tough place to be. But yeah, like youth hockey, I just remember like with the boys, just like having a good time. It didn't really mean much, but high school hockey means something. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What did like you enjoy most about playing high school hockey?
I just love how much it means, cause like you gotta take it seriously, and like when you win a game, it just means that much more because you work so hard for
Yeah.
that win. So.
Like what like struggles do you face during high school hockey season compared to like youth hockey?
Probably just like a lot harder work. Like I feel like you're practicing a lot more almost every day with high school hockey, and just like lots of sprints, lots of extra hard work. Just really tiring on the body and mentally too. It's just mentally challenging.
Explain your first high school hockey game and like what it was like.
Oh geez. So I had my first high school hockey game was actually a scrimmage against Hingham team, Hingham JV. And that was a tough game for not just me, but the team too.
Yeah.
I remember I was very nervous before the game. It was my first game ever. Wanted to put on a show for the team, show them I belonged, but did not do that. We ended up, I think we lost 9-0. Would that be right, Tyler?
I'm pretty sure it was something like that last year.
Yeah,
It was a tough game.
that was a very tough game for us. We really struggled, but over the season, we just really overcame those struggles. We worked really hard to get better, and we definitely made a difference at the end of the year.
What do you think we did best throughout the year, like overcoming those struggles?
I feel like we just more like it was like I feel like the first game maybe we just kind of be an individual effort, but at the end of the year, just the team really came together. Team effort. We really worked together as a team. We were a tough, gritty team to play against. We didn't let any teams walk all over us like we did that first game. So.
Speaking of that team, how was the JV season, JV team like last year?
Oh, it was a blast. A lot of friends on the team. It was a journey. I loved it. I wouldn't trade it for anything else. It was such a great time playing hockey. There were definitely some tough moments. Like I remember skating at practice. There were some days I just didn't want to be there. I'm going to be honest with you, but looking back on it, glad everything happened.
Yeah. What do you think like the best part of that team was?
Honestly, just hang like the boys. Like just like it was a great team, great team to be around. Our chemistry was through the roof. I mean,
Yeah.
we loved each other. We were more than just a team. We were like a family out there.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was one of the big things that made us such a good team.
Yeah. Describe some of the struggles that you individually faced throughout the season last year.
Some struggles I overcame were I feel like at the beginning of the year I wasn't really playing that much. I was kind of struggling against new higher competition, but I worked my way up. I started playing a little bit more at the end of the year, which was really good. But it was definitely tough at the beginning. It was a lot quicker speed of the game. Haven't played at this before, and higher level, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Tough challenge.
Yeah. Did you enjoy that challenge and faster speed?
I did enjoy that challenge. It definitely changed the game for me. It made me think about it in a different way and think of it more of a challenge. You know?
Yeah. Tell us about some of your favorite moments of last season, either like on the team or just like throughout the year.
There was a lot of great moments, but one of my favorite was probably like the game that versus Archie's. I had a great game that game. Ended up scoring 2 goals, and I feel like that game I was so happy because I felt like finally I was like doing something. I felt like at the beginning of the year I wasn't really doing much producing for the team, wasn't putting up many points on the board, so that was great. Really changed the season around for me.
Walk us through those 2 goals and like how you felt during and like after those goals happened.
I just remember it was a close game, so the whole game we ended up losing, but it was only a 1-goal game, and I just remember putting my first goal on the back of the net. It was pretty early on in the game, and it just got us off to a hot start, and it definitely got me off to a hot start. My confidence grew so much after that, and I was able to bury another one later on in the game. So.
Yeah. We were actually on the same team last year. We shared some ice together. Tell us about like some of the strong players on the team last year and like how they made some contributions.
There were many strong players on the team last year. A couple of them on varsity this year, like our friend Tyler here. They definitely they definitely helped the team win. Like, if they weren't there, we wouldn't have won nearly as many games. They put a lot of points up on the board, but most importantly, I feel like they taught me really just how to be a high school hockey player. They were older at the time, so they knew what they were doing. They knew that it was a very serious thing, and like they taught me how to just like not just how to be like on the ice, but how to be in the locker room and around my coaches and stuff, which was great. I thank them a lot for that.
Yeah. Who were some of those people that taught you about the culture that we have here?
Maybe you, Tyler Finland, Kevin LaBelle, and Brendan Clegg. I think those are the main three for me. They were great players.
Yeah, all role models. Explain your feelings going into this upcoming season on JV.
I'm very excited. Made JV again. Nothing I can do about it now, but I'm very happy about the upcoming season. A lot of great games coming up soon. Just fresh slate, new year. Hopefully I can get off to a hot start and play a lot of minutes this year and put some points up on the board.
Yeah. Well, what are your expectations for yourself, or like what are your goals for this season?
For myself, I just want to be able to produce more than I did last year and just show that I've improved. Because I've been working hard all over the summer. I just want to show them that I've improved. You know, I don't want to I didn't put up that many points last year. I want to maybe double that number and hopefully put up be a strong member of the JV hockey team.
What contributions do you hope to make, and what are some things you hope to improve on as the season goes on, skills wise?
I feel like I just need to put the puck in the back of the net a lot more. I only had, I think, 4 goals last year, which was not very good for how many games we played. I just gotta keep scoring. I gotta work hard and just be a little more physical too. I feel like I was kind of shying away from hits with the bigger kids. I'm a sophomore now. Got to be ready to play some of these younger kids and show them that who's the real boss out there. You know?
Yeah. What are some things that you can do to get your body ready and just to improve on what you just said?
A lot of practice, a lot of hard work. Been practicing a lot this week. Going to be practicing up to our first game. Just got to be working really hard in practice and making sure I stay healthy, staying out of trouble and stuff. You know.
Yeah. You said your first game. When's that? When's your first game?
First game is Thursday, December 15th in Walpole. So that should be a challenge. Good team, Walpole. Always been a good team, but hopefully we can take them down. Great team this year. So.
How's your team looking this year? Do you think you can beat them?
I think we're looking good. Just from the first couple practices we had, we already have some good chemistry going together. Looking good. We had a lot of skill on the team this year, but it's going to be tough. You know, Walpole's a great team. Play a lot of good teams this year, so we'll have to see.
Yeah. Who are some people on the team that you think are going to make big strides this year and improve a lot this season?
I'm gonna have to say the Gong brothers. They last year they didn't play all that much, but they did play. But this year they're just looking great in practice. They've been really working hard. I can definitely tell. All 3 of them, Charles, Pat, and Will. They're great role models too. Great kids.
Yeah. You like what they can do this year? They're gonna make some contributions.
I love what they're doing. Just so far in practice, they're just making lots of changes to their game, and they're looking like they're gonna be some of the biggest contributors to the team this year.
What do you think they can do off the ice for your team? Build up the chemistry.
Oh, off the ice, they're just great kids. Very, very intelligent. Maybe they could even just help me out with my math work a little bit. They're really smart kids. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Joe, we can't thank you enough for your time today. We wish you and your teammates well in the season ahead. For Canton Community Television, I'm Tyler Finland. Thanks for watching.
This has been an F Period production. Joe Blizzard, Viola Bonwell, Kevin Brophy, David Carlson, Anthony Delizia, Liam Doherty, John Feeney, Tyler Finland, Tyler Kelly, Andrew Kuracek, Ernst Marcer, Brendan Marshall, Carlos Mendez, Carolyn Shivo, Madeline Smith, James Young.
Boy, it's awfully cool out here. But you know what's even cooler? The Student Station on Canton Community Television.